So this is what you should take away from your PFP Year 0. Today I'm going to give you some advice regarding your PFP Year 0. A bit of self-introduction here. I was a PFP student myself last year, and this year I finally began my very first year in the diploma in the School of Engineering. And from a School of Engineering student standpoint, I'm going to give some advice and some things that you need to take notes while you're doing and pursuing your first year in poly, which is your foundation year. But I know it's called Year 0 because you've not really started the diploma, but it's also counted as your first year in poly because it gives you a almost and very close experience to how it is like in poly. So you get to experience poly life really quickly when you are in your PFP year. So on the top of the list, we have something regarding academics. So there are the domain specific modules and the common modules in your foundation year. So the domain specific modules is a specific module that is so unique that only the students in your faculty will study there. So if you're in design, you will do the design specific modules, and if you're in engineering, you will definitely do your own specific modules. However, in common modules, it's gonna be the same across the board. So you'll be studying the same modules even if you're in a different faculty. And when I mean faculty, it means school. So there's two ways of addressing your school or faculty, right? So if you're gonna tell somebody that you're from the School of Engineering, you can also say you're from the Faculty of Engineering. What's gonna happen is that in these domain specific modules, actually in year 1, in your semester 1, most of these domain-specific modules will cover pretty much the basics and the fundamentals of what you're gonna learn in year 1. So I think that in your year 0, if you are still struggling with, let's say, some of the domain-specific modules, do not worry, because what's gonna happen is that they will have a recap in year 1. So it is definitely important for you to recognize that and realize that you are not excelling in your year 0 modules, such that in year 1 there will be a recap, so you don't have to worry, but still you need to know that these fundamentals are very important when you go to year 1. So in year 1 you definitely need to catch up, but don't worry about it because in year 0 you already got a taster test of how it is like. So I think that when you move on, you just have to know and recognize that. And second on the list would be regarding your social group. I think you need to take notes the importance of making friends in poly. Alright, and not only just friends, but good friends in poly. Because the thing that is different from secondary school in poly is that you have to do group projects. You have graded group projects, and I think that this draws the importance of building an alliance or forming an alliance with everybody in your class, right, during group projects, because you would never know who you're gonna be grouped up with. If you're given a choice to group up with, choose wisely, right? But if you do not have a choice and your teacher handpicked you with another person, then you must be mentally prepared and you must at least establish a form of friendship. You know, like you cannot burn bridges right off the bat in year 1. And third on the list would be finding out your strengths and weaknesses. And because you're in this new environment, it's poly life is different from secondary school. So in year 0, I think that you should try to figure out what are your strengths and weaknesses. Alright, and some of the key points of strengths and weaknesses that you can take note of is probably the way you talk to people, the way you interact, the way you communicate with people. How is it like? Do you prefer to talk to them face to face? Do you prefer to text them? And secondly would be what kind of people you can work with. Do you like to work with people who are very extroverted, very outgoing, or do you want to work with people who are more independent, who are more reserved? Thirdly would be how do you study? Right, when it comes to academics, in poly is different because you have all these chopped up assignments that are spread across the weeks. So you have different deadlines, you don't really have to study all the way. So there are some questions that you can ask yourself. How do you study? Do you rely on people? Let's say you need like your friend to remind you of all these deadlines that are going to come, and then you need help, always asking. Or are you somebody who is independent, so you kind of don't want to ask, and you only ask if you really need help, but most of the time you just keep it to yourself? All of this processing of deadlines and problems, you can kind of do it yourself. And fourthly would be, how do you manage your time? This is the very important part of your poly life, which comes to the fourth on the list, which is time management. Now you've heard this advice across the board. Everybody in poly is going to be like, you have to manage your time, and it's because you are on your own. Actually, in poly you have to realize that there's no teachers to kind of re-emphasize or tell you that there's this exam coming out or test coming out or the assignment that is due. So you have to collate all this time schedules yourself inside your head, inside your mind. Write it down on the paper, write it down in your calendar, on your phone. There's a lot of things that you have to do independently, and that's why in the previous points I asked if you rely on somebody or you do it on your own. Because if you rely on somebody, better make sure that somebody helps you, or else you will miss a deadline. I assume in the poly experience, right, you have certain weeks where all the deadlines are like on the same day or on the same week. So you have all these assignments that are clumped together in 1 week if you never manage your time. And this drives to my fifth point on the list, which is consistency. Alright, so if you're looking at your timetable and you see like week number X is filled with all these deadlines, and you just started right now, which is a week before week X, it is going to be extremely overwhelming, and you need to be consistent in poly. If you're not consistent and you are always driven to last minute and you procrastinate too much until all these assignments just come to you at one go, it will be extremely overwhelming and you'll think that this is extremely stressful. So in year 0, I figured that you should figure that out really quickly. Like, are you somebody who procrastinates, right? Because you need to solve, if that is getting in the way of you completing your assignments, or that's causing you a lot of mental stress, you need to find out ways in which you need to tackle such problems. So find out what your strengths and weaknesses, as I mentioned in my third point. And when it comes to consistency, academics wise, and this is all academics, right? But when I'm talking about your grades, okay, you have what is called the GPA. Oh, how could you not know what GPA is, right? In poly, you have to know what GPA is, because that is the grades. That is where all the grades come in. So you look at GPA, and it stands for grade points average. So it essentially means that they are taking the average across all your grades and forming your GPA. This is the more sophisticated and correct calculation of GPA, but overall, right, they are just calculating your average score. So if you put consistency into play, let's say you keep getting 3.7 all the way, you will just get 3.7. That comes to the end of my video. If you enjoyed this video and you found this video useful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more, and click on notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye bye!